Beautiful. Now that we had a chance to practice some adding, I just want you to practice putting these numbers how you would put them to line up the place values. So all I want you to do is place 1,095 and 7/10 minus 3 and 86 up here, the way I did this part before I actually solved it. And the same with 10 minus 4 and 82 And then try to do the same thing with this word problem about Carlos. So at this point, go ahead and pause the video, set up the problems, but do not actually solve them. And then before you solve them, push play again. Pausing the video. Did you pause the video? You should have paused the video. Okay, so hopefully you already set them up. What I have here is the way that we would set up these numbers. So you'll notice that I have the decimal place values lined up. 1,095 and 7/10. The 5 was in the ones digit and the 3 was in the ones digit, so those are immediately on top of one another. After the decimal point, the 7/10 and the 8/10 are immediately on top of each other. And then I have a 6/100 down here. That means I'm going to have to add in a 0. Looking at this one, I have 10 minus 4 and 82 So I wanted to address the 10 really quick. Technically, 10 doesn't have a decimal in it, but if I look at my place value chart, if I wanted to write 10 there, I would have to put the 1 in the 10 spot, the 0 in the 1 spot. Notice that the decimal always goes immediately behind that number. So when I'm looking at 4 and 82 if I wanted to put 10 above it and subtract, I would have to add zeros in the 10th and 100th spot. It's awesome and helpful that this now looks like $10, like money, so it's not that big of a deal that I am putting the decimal at the end and 2 zeros the way that I would if I were talking about money. Perfect. So go ahead and solve those two problems. So pause the video and solve those the way that you would solve them. Did you pause the video? You should have. Yes. Okay. So if you'll look here, we have our answers. Go ahead and check your work and write down some questions in the burning questions part, or circle the part on your paper that looks different than the part on my paper, and then try to rework it off to the side over here on your journal. And still write questions in the burning questions. Lovely. So now go ahead and pause the video and make sure that you have Carlos's problem set up. And we'll actually solve out Carlos's problem in a different video if you need to. If you don't need me to solve out Carlos's problem, the answer to Carlos's problem should be here. So you had 13 and 75 plus 3/10. We added those together, they had 14 and 500. And then we took away the 5 acres that he sold. So you'll notice that I'm subtracting 5, and that I made sure that was in the ones place value. Subtract it. Yes. So write down questions in the burning questions section and go back to the Google Doc and try out some more problems.